So welcome back to another one of my mini summer episodes. These are just quick episodes, about 5 minutes, just because the summer is a really busy time for me, just like it is for a lot of us. Well, for some of us it's a little slower, but for me it happens to be a little busier, mostly because my kids work more in the summer, so I'm driving them around a lot, plus they want to go places with their friends and things like that, and it's also a really busy time for me at work during the summer. So I needed to scale back a little bit, so I'm doing these quick little episodes until September. The regular length episodes will start back up again. So for today's quick 5-minute episode, I wanted to talk about how I'm trying to save a little bit of money on groceries, because as we all know, the cost of groceries has gone up tremendously, and my grocery budget had started to get a little bit out of control over the course of time, because I had always had a really good handle on my grocery budget, like where I would pretty much come in on budget or very close to budget every single week. And then I started doing Instacart for Aldi, and then Stop and Shop, like their own store pickup, and then just like BJ's, which I always had gone to. But when you do the like Instacart, the prices are a little bit higher. For Aldi, I really didn't find that they were high enough to make me not want to save the time of just running to the store and picking it up, because I found it a really big benefit to me, because I really just, I'm just in a busy time of life just in general with the teenagers and, like I said, my work and everything like that. And I kind of was able to easily absorb that little bit of extra cost, and especially since I was picking it up, I was getting like a 5% discount back, so I felt like it wound up coming up about the same, and I really wasn't really going over my budget too much. Also, by doing the pickup at Stop and Shop, I was able to get some things that weren't available at Aldi, and it was working out pretty well. It was a little bit more costly, but really nothing significant. I was able to absorb the cost. But then when the grocery prices started going up like crazy, I was having a harder time. And then I also found myself ordering more things from Stop and Shop versus Aldi, because Aldi, by me at least, kept running out of things, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to get the things that I needed. And usually it seemed that Stop and Shop always had the things that Aldi didn't do. So over the last few weeks or so, I had, not few weeks, more than that, like maybe a few months at least, I just found that I was continuously coming over budget significantly with my groceries. And I had also started letting my daughter add some things whenever she wanted to the Stop and Shop cart, and she would order things that weren't necessarily on sale or that weren't necessarily the types of products I would normally buy, like really high-end stuff. So we have since taken some steps to save some money on groceries. One being starting to go back to order more from Aldi, because it seems like some of the shortages that they were having have lessened. Like it seems like I'm mostly able to get everything I'm ordering now. And I'm also being more mindful of comparing the Stop and Shop prices to the Aldi prices, because there have been instances where something was less expensive at Stop and Shop versus at Aldi. And I'm also being more careful of checking what my total estimated cost is going to be, which is what I always used to do in the past, and I really got out of the habit of it, before finalizing my order, so that I could make adjustments if needed, and also so that I would know how much left I had available to spend at BJ's, so that I could adjust there also if I needed to. Because, like, for example, if I have a really tight budget week and I need to buy something like paper towels or laundry detergent or something like that, I'll just hold off till the next week, because I usually try and keep enough of those that I'm not in an urgent situation where I have to buy it right away. So I'm really being much more mindful again, like I used to be, where I'm checking my estimated cost of the groceries before I place my orders and before I go to BJ's, so that I see how much of my budget I have left to spend. I also started doing some more meal prep for my kids for lunches, because especially in the summer when they're home a lot of days for lunchtime, they wind up not having things to eat, and then they want to buy like frozen dinners and things like that, which end up being really expensive. So I started like because we do usually have leftovers, but a lot of times they just don't want to eat the leftovers. I never really find myself in a situation of not having something to eat for lunch, because I always eat the leftovers. but they don't always eat them, or sometimes there's just not any. So the last 2 weeks, what I did is I bought some chicken breast and I cut it into like little strips and just drizzled it with olive oil and some salt and pepper and broiled it in the oven. So there was just like plain broiled chicken available for them to eat in the fridge. And it sounds like blah, that's bland, but it was actually really good because my one daughter used it to make herself chicken Caesar salads. And then one day she made like a chicken sandwich with it. And then my son did something else with it too. I think he used like the chicken to make something for himself. So that worked out really well. So I did that again this week. And then I also did a big batch of meatballs and sauce, and I froze it in portions with like sauce and meatballs in these little baggies, so that there was enough there that more than one person can eat it, but not enough for like the whole family, so that if they wanted to do that, they could just pull that out of the freezer and then just kind of heat up the meatballs and sauce either like in a pot or in the microwave or whatever. And they could either make a meatball sandwich with it, or they could do make some pasta real quick and have like a little meal like that. So I'm trying to find more things like that I'm not actually cooking for like a dinner, but that I'm just making to have extra food around so that they have other choices, rather than constantly asking me to buy frozen dinners, or they want a DoorDash or things like that, which are super expensive. So that's what I'm doing right now to try and save a little bit on groceries and get back into the really good habits that I used to have, because they definitely slipped a little bit recently, which with the further compounding of the grocery increase was really having a impact on my budget. So thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed these quick little episodes, and I will see you here next week. So thank you for checking in for this podcast episode. And don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lola's Frugal Life. And you can find a blog post for most of my episodes, and definitely all of my meal plan episodes, at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you can please take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast. Those ratings and reviews are what help the show come up better in search results so that other people can find this podcast. So that will really help me in growing my audience. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.